Hello and welcome back to the channel, and today what we're going to be doing is a yearly tier list of the albums that I have spoken about and reviewed on this channel. There are a couple of albums that I could have included, but because I didn't actually speak about them on the channel, I've left out. A good example is Linkin Park's From Zero, which I wanted to do a video on but was unable to do. That won't be on this list, but maybe next year I might do a little bit more kind of like albums that I haven't listened to or done videos on, but we'll see. Anyway, enough about that. What we've got today, 7 albums that I've got to put into a tier list of an album of the year, solid, decent, and listened once. Some of these albums on here are kind of like from previous or deluxe albums of last year's albums, only because one, it buffers up this video, two, I reacted or spoke about the singles or whatever that came out from this album. So we'll go straight into it with what I mean, and that is with Bad Omen's Concrete Jungle original soundtrack. This had a lot of the Death of Peace of Mind songs already on there, like with live versions, a couple of ones with like remixes and features, and then they actually just had brand new songs altogether, like Violence Against Nature featuring Poppy, like Anything More Than Human, just to kind of like name a couple there. So what I'm going to do with that one, I'm going to hover it around decent, just because, actually no, you know what, I'm going to put it in solid. It built on the foundations that Death of Peace of Mind already done. It given us something a little bit different. It just was a really good album to listen to. It's like a whole album on its own, but with like all of the like previous stuff added in as well. The second album that we're going to be doing is Heavener's deluxe album, Definitive. Now this is on the same lines of Concrete Jungle. This one they did add like 3 singles, which I did reaction videos on. They did change things up, like on Without a Whisper, but I will say it didn't really hit the same for me. So with Heavener last year, when that was released, I really enjoyed that album. It was blowing me away. It was incredible, but this Definitive album hasn't really added anything else on top of that. It hasn't gone up a level there. Singles are good, the version of Without a Whisper is good, but it's not solid. I would put that down as a decent album. The next one is Bring Me the Horizon's Next Gen. I was very overhyped for it. I could not wait for it. They were releasing singles for the last 2 years for it. Started off the year with Kool-Aid, which I really enjoyed. And yeah, they kind of like released the album, and it was good, it was solid, don't get me wrong, but it did not live up to the expectation that I thought it was going to have. Now, that's not to say that I don't listen to it. I can chuck that album on whenever and I can listen to it and enjoy it. There's some standout songs there I really enjoyed, like NA and Limousine, which I think everyone loves Limousine, plus all the singles that I'd already released. So it was definitely a really good album, but I was expecting something more with all the hype around it, like building up to it. It didn't live up to an album of the year status for me. So we're going to put that in solid. We're going to put it above Concrete Jungle, just because it was a brand new, fresh album. The next one is Wage War Stigma. I won't lie to you, I was very disappointed with Stigma. First Magnetic that they brought out, I really enjoyed, and I know that's probably like a really soft radio version of Wage War. I'll hold my hands up and agree with you. But then Nail 5 just did not hit for me, just did not do what I wanted it to do. It was kind of like the song Manic from their previous album, Manic. It was just like a lower rated song, if you know what I mean. Like, it just didn't hit the same as that. Then Tombstone came out, which was kind of heavy, but it just felt really weird. And the album itself, I listened to once, and I have not gone back to it at all. Magnetic is up there as probably one of my most listened songs, but the album itself, I've not gone near it since. It's a really disappointing album for Wage War, seeing as what they came off the back of Manic, which was such a solid album, and I absolutely loved it. I was listening to Death Roll the other day, and just how much of a hardcore song that was. I'm thinking, why can't they sound like this still? Even listening to like The River, for example, and Stitch, that's the Wage War I want. I don't want any of this new, softer, like weird direction they went into, even though Magnetic is good. So that's a bit of a hypocritical statement there, but yeah, that's going and listened once. The next one is Alpha Wolf, Half Living Things. Now this is a really good album. I was really surprised with it. I enjoyed the singles. It's the first time I properly invested into Alpha Wolf. It's definitely going to be going into like solid, because it also really took like, I'm going to put it in between Bring Me the Horizon and Bad Omens. I love the new metal elements, I love the hip hop elements, I love the feature. Everything that they kind of like put out was really nice and fresh, but it kind of had, as I said, the new metal elements that I absolutely love. Really good album. Definitely was probably more underappreciated when it was getting released, and then when you listen to it, you're like, oh my god, this is amazing. I would highly recommend listening to Half Living Things, because it is a banger. The next one is Make Them Suffer by Make Them Suffer, and with that in mind, I'm going to put it in an album of the year. Doom Switch was an amazing single they brought out. Ghost of Me was an amazing single. Every single single they brought out was amazing. Hype for the album lived up to the album as well. The added songs that they had on the album, Small Town Syndrome, for example, was an absolute banger to end on. I thought the intro started out really strong as well. I did do like a full review of it on my channel. Kind of gave it an 8 out of 10. But I still believe that that is a solid rating. But I think for living up to the hype, for the singles that they brought out being so good, sometimes I feel you listen to the singles and then you forget to include them as part of the album, and then you only base the album on the songs you haven't listened to. Well, really, you have to base it on absolutely everything. Just those 5 songs alone would carry this album to like an album of the year status. And then the last one, and I always get the Knocked Loose album wrong, don't go until you're supposed to. You won't go before you're supposed to. That's what I was supposed to say. It's going in an album of the year, and I'm going to put it behind Make Them Suffer, solely on the basis that I'm not a massive Knocked Loose fan, and this was the first time I could properly invest into it. Yeah, I've listened to a couple of singles that weren't on this album, and obviously I know quite a lot of their old discography for like the whole meme side of things with the arf-arfs and all that shit. But when I actually properly sat down and listened to this album, it was such a collective piece that I absolutely love. That album is just perfect. Like, there's no song that feels out of place. The flow of the whole album goes really well. The features with Poppy on Suffocate, probably one of the best songs of the year. And also Slaughterhouse 2 of Chris Motionless. Big Motionless and White fan over here. Just those carry it alone. Some of the songs on there were just absolutely incredible. Don't Reach For Me, fucking love that one. Moss Covers All, Take Me Home. Blinding Faith, which we obviously know is a single. Suffocate, which was a single. That whole album was amazing. The difference between the Make Them Suffer album and the Knocked Loose album is I could put Make Them Suffer on all the time and I'll listen to it throughout. While the Knocked Loose album, because it's such a heavy, specific thing, to really appreciate it, it has to be in like the right possible environment. You bring it out for special occasions. When you need this album, you bring it out, you listen to it. Like a fine aged wine. You don't want to drink it too early and you put it away for a special occasion. That's this album. You bring this album out for that. That's my tier list for the albums that I've spoken about this year. I know it's not a lot. I know there's not many albums on there. I could have done better this year, but it's just been all over the place, up in the air. Would have liked to have done a Linkin Park one. I have listened to that album, and if I was to put it in here, it would be decent. Not a massive, like, oh my god, this is the best album ever kind of vibe for me. It did all right. There's plenty of other albums that I could have included, but because I'm really OCD about specific things, like specific things being included on this channel, that's the only reason why there's only 7 albums here that I'm talking about. Let me know of other albums that I have probably missed out and I should definitely listen to, especially if they're an album of the year. Let me know what you thought about my choices of where all of these albums sit, and make sure to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video real soon. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Solely on the fate.